Where does DeMarcus Cousins reside in all of this right now?
Well, I reported last night that George Karl, the Kings coach, has been very determined to trade him. He's been very vocal within the organization, outside of the organization, that he wants to move him, that he doesn't feel like he can get along with him, that he can coach him. They had, a few weeks together at the end of the season after Karl took the job in February, and there's a lot of the owner in Sacramento is very, he's been pretty determined to hold on to Cousins. He's an unbelievable talent. They have him signed for 3 more years, certainly, but I think in the end he's probably, even if he starts the season in Sacramento, I don't think he's long for there unless, the Kings just fired a coach last spring, not last spring, in December, early in the season. They signed George Karl to a 3-year deal. But Cousins, as my sources indicated, Cousins knows that Karl has been pushing for a trade to get him out of there. That relationship's been described to me as irreparable. It's going to be really interesting how this plays out, how the organization decides to go forward here. I don't think there's going to be a deal here anytime soon, certainly not alongside the draft. But Sacramento has really made it clear to teams around the league that outside of Cousins, everybody else is available. It's a very unsettled organization right now.
Well, I mean, Adrian, I mentioned at the top of this segment that everybody reads you. DeMarcus Cousins appears to be one. I don't know if you saw his tweet that was sent out at 11 o'clock on Monday night Eastern time with a corn, a snake, and a corn for snake in the grass. And I think it's dawned on him that George Karl might be trying to trade him.
Well,
Adrian.
I don't think Cousins needed to read my story to know that. I think, and I report he's known that that's been going on. Mm-hmm. Karl has worked to get some players and get some people in his corner to make the case to management and the ownership that he has support in moving him out. The problem is when you talk to players about it, they just go back to the other player and tell them what's going on. So that sometimes is part of it, but it's going to be a really combustible. It already is combustible, but I think if they have to go back to training camp together, DeMarcus Cousins, as talented as he is and as dominant of a talent as he is, he's also shown that if he's not happy with things, if he wants to act out, he can be very difficult. And so that presents a real challenge for Sacramento if he decides that he doesn't want to play for George Karl, how they figure out a way to proceed together.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.